Hi, Fadawi. Thank you for today's class. Thank you for this morning. Thank you for bringing us here safely. As we are going to start this class, we ask that you give us the wisdom, the grace, and the understanding that today's class will be fruitful and today's class will make more sense. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So we're going to continue with the principles of UI. So I think let me share my screen so that we could. So you stopped at consistency in the previous class. So let me share. So remember to unmute your mic to ask your question.
So my question is from Figma. I was trying some things out yesterday, and the,
What is your training?
I was trying Figma out generally yesterday. That's some of the things that you taught us, and I don't know. I could not find where you taught us how to do the side scrolling. That's like if you prototype and then you want to scroll sideways. I could not find how to make the image in a way that it will be able to scroll sideways. I don't know that you get it.
Okay, that one is no problem. I wasn't teaching you to. I wasn't teaching you to know how to do that. I was just demonstrating that this is a possibility of what Figma can do. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. Yes. So I didn't teach that at all. I'm not even close to that part of the class. But I was showing you that this is what the frame does. That I was showing you the difference between clipping. Sorry about that. I was showing the difference between when you clip your content and when you don't. So So don't worry, no cause for alarm. I will still show us how to do that, but that was not the context of that class. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Yes. Okay. So let me share my screen so that we can proceed. Okay, you don't have any questions? Or you say that you have plenty of questions for me. Sure. So okay. Okay. So okay, the materials. Okay, I'll be fine. Okay, so yeah, we're going to continue with the principles of design. So you'll be looking at consistency. So we're going to be looking at consistency. So from what we have here, consistency is all about maintaining a similar theme in the design to avoid users getting confused and improve usability in design. So consistency, as the name is just to be consistent in using your design elements. That's just what it means. So if you should go further, you notice that what is in this part, this is a design. Let's see. This is a design. And what you have consistent in this design is the color, green. Green was used throughout the color around here as the background color. Then white was the we call this a card. The cards we are consistent. Sorry, we are consistent in colors and in shape. So if you notice, this is white, and this is white. Then this is circle, circle, and circle. Circle. When I stopped, so if you notice, the profile pictures, they used a circle shape to be consistent. Then the card used a rectangular shape. So that's what I mean. That's what we mean by consistency. Then you realize that the buttons have the same color. It's not like this one is red, this one is blue, then that one will now be orange. No, no, no. So that's not how we do design. So if you remember the principle of contrast, if you want to make one stand out, what do you do? Assuming in this design now, I want to make an element stand out, what do you do? You can unmute your mic before you, so I can speak if you want to answer. For example, this design now, I want to make one have a higher contrast or stand out or create an emphasis in this design. What do you do? I'm waiting for a
I
response.
think
Your mic
either
is
will change
unmute your mic. Okay.
either will change the shape of a particular image or will change the font size to
Oh,
make it different.
okay, yes. Changing the shape of the image, or you change the font size, which is also correct, or you can change the color that make maybe. So sorry for that interruption. So let me continue from where I stopped. So I was talking about typography. So there is new slideshow. Sorry, next thing I'm going to look at is typography. So typography is about choosing the right typeface for a design, it is very important to choose the right fonts to improve readability. So if you notice from this particular slide, observe something. Realize that in um this particular realize in this particular font, or let's say this particular text here, this block of text, realize that you can easily read it, right? Nothing here is difficult to, everything is very legible, and it gives you breathing space to read. Something you can read very easily. But watch, observe the next slide, you realize something. Did you notice anything? So you realize that the fonts used, or sorry, not fonts, the typeface used are not consistent. So the typeface here is not the same thing here, and it's not the same thing here, and it's not the same thing also here. So you see that it's not, before you can read this, it takes you some time because of how it's not well arranged. The fonts used let me use the word, are not similar. So the best thing we do is in UI/UX, use one font throughout your entire design. If you want to use another font, make sure that it doesn't affect your design negatively. Like this is a design. We have a block of text here, but here you realize that the design here is is off. It doesn't look. They look like as if they're quarreling. So it has its own mind, so and it's not, and it's somewhere else, so and it's somewhere else. So you realize this block of text are not in the same. They're not in the same. Let me say family. So next we're going to talk about is color. So in UI/UX, color is used to pass a specific message. It conveys certain feelings and give direction. So color is a topic on its own, because of how broad it is. So we'll talk about color later in the future in the course. So let's now talk about visual hierarchy. So visual hierarchy is achieved by using design elements to guide the eyes of the user in a design. So it means that you're arranging your design in a way that you're guiding the design, your users, so that they will not be lost. So how do we apply visual hierarchy in our design? I want to demonstrate that right now. So how, if you notice in this similar block of design, can you tell me how do you start reading? Where do you start first? If you want to read this on a normal day, how do you start reading? Okay, you read from top to bottom, left and right. So that is hierarchy. So you realize that what you see first is what typography, right? Because that's the biggest object there, that's the biggest element there. And it's also the first, it's also the one at the topmost. So with visual hierarchy, you read this first, read this, followed by this, and followed by this. This is the hierarchy of this design. You start here, so this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a hierarchy. Then let's check another design. So where did your eyes go first in this particular design? Get started, okay? Because of that's the most, let me say, highlighted element. So there is a flow to this. It depends on some people. It depends on people have different way of seeing things. So you can see this get started first, read this, and then read this. So because you work out your interest in get started, and then you ask yourself, what am I getting? What do I want to get started with? You now read, okay, what's typography? And now read this body copy. So the flow is like this and like this. I don't know if you understand. Get started, this comes first, and this comes. So the flow was inverted. So it's to show you that you can, depending on how you want to convey a message, you have to follow that hierarchy. So the hierarchy is that whatever you make brighter or the biggest will take first position to keep reducing and keep reducing. So you can use color to also show that. So that's what we mean by visual hierarchy, and it's an element of design. Okay. So next is you're going to be looking at spacing in design. So spacing. So if you remember, we talked about space in the elements. So space is also, you're going to now use that space as a principle, and I talked about it initially. So for the principle of spacing is that there should be an equal amount of gap between design elements. So I would say space is all about gap between design elements. Setting the right space makes a design balanced and easy to look at. Spacing also can be used to draw emphasis to a specific design. So observe, we are now applying spacing here. Is that same block is okay? Let me share my screen. Where are we? I'm looking for where I'm working. All these interruptions as well. So I'll just stop sharing the screen. So I was saying that is that same spacing that's still design I was talking about. Sorry, it's still the same design paying emphasis to. So the spacing is, if you realize in this particular design, please, I want to pay very much attention, because if the your understanding to this would determine how good your design will be. So this is what will now tell us how, if you don't really understand this, then your designs will not really make sense. So that's why, please, if you have questions, ask, or if something is not clear, ask, so that we could review it again. So I was talking about spacing. You realize that there is an equal amount of space from here to here at the left and the right. So we call it the margin. The left margin and the right margin is of same space. Same thing here. The top margin and the bottom margin are almost the same space. And realize that let me say this is the macro space. If you remember what's talking about between macro and micro, then you now see the space from here to here kind of makes this button looks isolated. I don't know if you're seeing it. So that's get started. You realize that it's not very close to the typography. And are you seeing it? It's not very close to the typography. So, but you realize that um what typography and the body of text is like as if they are together, they are closely spaced together. So this is why I would say spacing brings balance to your design and also creates emphasis. So that's why when you're using your spacing, you have to ask yourself, okay, this thing I'm going to design, how would it look like? What is my reason for making this together? I remember if you remember contrast, can create contrast by space, since together can show that they are a they are a unit or a family. But once you start separating things, it now makes them look as if they're separate and that as if they're no longer in the same family. Let me use that word. So next. Okay.
So in this kind of situation, now what do you do to this? This padding that I showed you.
Yeah.
You change the font size to make sure everything is in the same.
Oh, okay. I understand this. This is a very technical. I like this question you should ask because it shows that you're thinking ahead. So that padding it shows is a word, is a term that they show to show this if that padding shows the space from this paragraph to this. So the that was the means if you start designing it, they use the word padding for it. So uh, so um that's for this particular one. So let's now the next thing now. Okay, let me proceed for that. So Andrea, okay, don't worry, pardon me for that. I thought this is something. The next thing is repetition. So repetition is is like consistency, but this is what helps to create that consistency you're looking for. So when you're trying to make things repetitive, if you're making things repetitive, you're also making things consistent, but it's not in the same content, but they're like together. So repetition is like when you're repeating a particular color, a particular font, a particular layout in your design. So this helps the user to easily understand the design and they'll not be confused. So in the next slide, I want you to show me what was repeated in the design. I think I've asked this question before. Okay, yes, I use this to show an example. So let me ask again. So what was repeated in this? If you notice this design looks consistent and good, right? It looks like as if it's flowing well, right? I'm asking, does it look, how does it look to you? Okay, let me not assume. So to you from your own eyes, how does this design looks? This Coca-Cola design. It's organized, okay. And a lot is going on. Okay. Okay, what about you? Remember to mute your mic to speak on.
Just like she said, it looks organized, and the colors, there are a lot of colors in the background.
Is it organized or disorganized?
Organized.
Okay.
And the colors are not uniform. That's what first.
So okay. Are you on the call? Are you on the why not in the meeting? So you have to come closer then. So yes, something. What was that?
So I'm saying that this white one person maybe is like it's off, not like off, but it's outside the picture. But then the first question I asked about repetition, the color, that the Coca-Cola company color, kind of well repeated, as like if you look at it, first thing I see is red, to the company color. So, I don't understand.
Okay. So, what else again did you think? Andreas answered that on the color was repeated. So, what else again was repeated in the design? So, Kiri, the question is to you.
What else was repeated?
The colors were repeated, red and black. She has highlighted that one. So, what other element do you think was repeated? Hmm. Okay. So, the other thing that was repeated is, let me help you out, is the shape. Square, rectangle, 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 rectangle. This is rectangles are repeated very often. And then the button, if you look closely, you realize that the button looks similar. I know it's a bit tiny, but you know, see the button looks similar in shape. Yes, they look similar in shape, not color, shape. So the other element that was repeated is the rectangular, this rectangular was repeated. So except for the arrangement of the design, I said it's not looking organized. At least it's consistent to a very large extent because um you the patterns are repeating. It would have been inconsistencies if everything around here was just maybe here would be a circle, here would be a square, here would be star, some would be triangle, to just look like as if you're playing. Because everything, at least it looks it looks planned. And even if it's not well organized, I understand what you mean by well organized. But from here, in design sense, the is planned out well, but there is the hierarchy to the design is a little bit off because a lot of things are doing a lot at the same time. So now let's now go to alignments. So the next principle is alignment. So I think you understand what we mean by repetition, right? So alignment is how we arrange our design. So is making sure that things are in the same position. So in terms of position, that's what alignment does. And alignment is one of the things that if it gets right, your design will your design, no matter how simple it is, will look okay. So what do I mean? Alignment is based on we have the one for text and we have the one for shape. So let me show you in this particular design now. What do you notice? Okay, I've already highlighted it. So that is this one shows poor alignment because everything is just placed. It's not random, but you're like wondering, okay, which one comes first? It's like this one comes first. So they're just placed up and down. But realize that this design has more direction to it. You read geographics first, then read this one. You now read this one's under next. I don't know if you understand. So, but this one is you're wondering, does geographics come first or does this one come second? So, but if you remember how we talked about hierarchy, comes first, geographics come first, then 23 Lawn Hill Drive, and then next. So this is the order. So the alignment also makes the design looks orderly. So you notice everything is right aligned. They are all aligned towards the right. So that's how we use alignment. So you can also work with shape. It's not only for for fonts. No, it works with shape and all the element of design except color. Color cannot, it can't be moved around. It just fills the objects. So proximity is like a combination of everything you have talked about. So before I explain proximity, I want, from what you have talked about, like all the concepts you have talked about, can you kind of interpret this design? So what we interpret is we have talked about spacing, hierarchy, contrast. Can you use those things you talked about and interpret how this design, how do you see it?
We are saying the proximity, we talk about, is it the whole element or the
I just unmuted it. I said this design, are you saying we should use the elements to describe it, or we should use the principle of
It's the last principle.
okay.
So I'm asking, proximity is a combination of everything you have talked about, the entire principle of design. So, but before I talk about proximity, I want you to tell me from what you have taught previously, all the principles you have taught previously, we have spoke about previously. So can you kind of describe or apply those principles to interpret what is going on in this design? Okay, so since about you can now use this side.
Okay, let me start with the welcome to media where words matters. I think this one has to do with okay. It has to do with the alignments that we just discussed now, because it's left aligned followed by the other words, and the boss is in order. That is to show it has the same, is in, how will I put it? It's consistent. The boss is in a block.
In the boss,
Get started and learn
and
more.
that is boss.
Yes.
Okay.
So what else? And also the color. The background, is it background color? The color showing inside the box also dictates the forgetting the contracts. Then coming down to featured for members and the popular of media. All those one depicts. Let me go through them. I don't know the word to use for this one. This last sentence, I don't know. But I think I don't know what I'm thinking again. Let me pause here for now. I don't know. Let me, if I remember, I will say it.
Okay. So Andrea, what is observation with the previous principles of design I've taught? Can you make the observations here and spot out some principles that are used in this design?
Okay, I don't really remember the names, like exact names of most of the principles, but I know that in this first this text that is in this ash or gray box, the welcome to medium where words matter is bigger and it's in bold. And then the text under, which is like a, I don't know what I'll call it, description or something of what they do, is now smaller and like it attracts less attention than the main welcome message. And then the color of the page is also is it like, I don't know what I'll say, it's balanced. The colors they use, the text and the background of this welcome box or whatever is, they go well with each other. And then they divided the page in half, which is balanced. They did, that's the division that's on the lower part of the page is equal. And then you can see the text, the ones that are, I don't know, I would like to call them the main message, there are in bold. And then the lower ones, that's, you can see time and some other thing, is that place I'm seeing different descriptions or something are now smaller and they attract less attention. So you can see the main thing is in bold and bigger than the others.
Okay. So you can't, I'll say you didn't remember the principles, but at least you understand their operation. And that's what, to me, I think that's what really, really matters. Because you might remember like the principles and then forget some of the things. So let me, proximity is all about, or everything you said is correct. So there's nobody that is wrong. Proximity is all about using space to group elements. And how we apply the proximity in this design is, are you seeing the navigation bar at the top? Are they grouped together? It looks like that one, it looks like as if it's just on its own, right? That's proximity. They groups them, they closely brought them together to show that they're a group. Are you seeing this? We call it a banner or the hero screen. Are you seeing that they're all groups together, right? Can see if they are together. What bounds them together is this green, tail green, right? This green one you have here, right? If this green was here, you think this image is on its own, right? So that's proximity in play. So they group this together by how they arrange them, and you realize that popular, let's see, realize that popular on medium is grouped together. It shows that this is just one group, and you know, if you read this, you read this together as if it's a different information on its own. Same thing here, featured for members. You just know that this is a different information on its own. So you have like, this is on its own and this is on its own. So that is proximity. So proximity is like the advanced nature, like is like using spacing in an advanced form. So what you're doing is that once you group things closely together, it looks as if they are one. But if you separate things, it's like as if they are separate. So the way this was grouped shows that it is one group, group number 2, group number 3, and group number 4. So that's what we mean by proximity. So then hierarchy now comes in, whereby this comes first. In terms of hierarchy, this comes first, second, third, and fourth. So that's what proximity is all about. So proximity is using space to group elements. So do we have any question? Because this is the last principle of UI design. Okay, I should proceed. Okay, so the next principle is the principles of UX. So we have done principles of UI, that's user interface design, then principles of UX. So which is the first principles of UX we're going to be looking at is the goal of UX is to solve the user's needs. Remember that what we talked about throughout the empathize phase. The goal, the earlier phase of the class, we talked about user solving the user's need. Next is speak customers' language. What do I mean? Just speak in simple English. Don't go and start using phonetics or use okay, not phonetics, because even yes, don't go and start using heavy English language, or let's say words that are deep in vocabulary, so that people would not go and start opening. For you to use your app, people gonna have to go and buy a dictionary. Not everybody will have that time to do it. So example of what I mean is you have a app for selling shoes, and instead of you using in your buy button, you want to use, instead of you saying buy now, you say purchase now. Not everybody know what is purchase, right? If you go to the market now, like our local market or the market, and you tell someone, I want to purchase this thing from you. A person will not, like the woman that's selling banana now, that I want to purchase this banana. She'll be looking at you, unless if she's someone that's learning. But if you want to say, I want to buy banana, she understand that you want to buy a banana from her. So that's what I mean, simple English. So example of that simple English is things like when you want to say proceed, instead of you using the word proceed is not everybody understand what proceed is. Not everybody is a English, knows English very well. So you can use next or use forward. So people know, okay, forward means you want to go next. You can use forward and back, next and previous. So use simple English. Next one is organize content clearly. That's visual hierarchy. Hierarchy in content. Don't just put things anyhow. Organize the content well. Be intentional. If anything is somewhere, make sure that that thing that is at that place makes sense. It's not just there for being there. Next is simplicity. I know we want to make designs that will be fine, but please, the goal of every design is simplicity. Make it simple and easy to understand. Next is consistency. Consistency is consistency in design. Then give feedback on users' action. Allow users to control the process and easy interaction. The next one is easy accessibility. So I've explained this already. So it means in UX, the goal of everything you're doing is make sure that you solve everything you're doing is focused on user, solve the user's problem. Next, I've explained this, do not use complex language. Organizing your information. Then, so use like, for you to get this proper organization, that's where you need to use your sitemap. I've not talked about sitemap yet though, but we'll talk about it later on when we start doing our designs. So this is what I mean by organize your content. Realize that you have in your home page, you have your blog, your events, your about us, your join us and sponsor. So yeah, this is a very good example of a sitemap. So you're organizing things, making sure so that people will not miss road. Like it's like when have you entered some streets, like I see that street is you can easily get lost in that street. So that's how it is. Those streets that are not organized, you can miss your way. So, but in this place, you can't really miss your way. Be like, okay, blog, videos, lifestyle, events, this, and that. So that's how what I mean by organize the content clearly. This is what I mean. So organize the content of your design. So if your design is a school website, you have your home, you have a place for academics, have a place for extracurricular activity, have a place for exams, have a place for registration, have a place for school fees. So you're organizing your content, and that's what UX does. UX is focusing on this so that to be easier to understand. I've talked about simplicity. Less is more. Don't go and start doing too much. So in this, are you seeing this Google this Google landing page, if you wonder yourself, why is there too much space? They should have maybe try and this is the most simplest design in history. Design, my UIUX design, just Google your search engine, and that's your search button, and that's all. Other things are just there. So this is simplicity playing out. See how simple it is. They did not start putting fine pictures or stuff. It's just simple, white background, straight to the point. So consistency is important to maintain your design. So I've talked about consistency. So consistency in UX is making sure that the functions you use in your design is consistent. Let me give you a very good example of what I mean. We all use Microsoft Word, right? You notice that Microsoft used to do updates over time. Maybe you have Microsoft 11. I'm using an example, Microsoft 2009, 2010. Do you notice that no matter the updates they do, they still maintain the same with the way they arrange things is still the same. And when the reason that changes that is that the button has changed or the color has changed. And you haven't noticed that. So if you notice, this is a Microsoft toolbar. Since I knew Microsoft, this is how their toolbar has been over the years. It has not changed. So this consistency is that if you're trying to be consistent, make sure that you maintain consistency in that design over the time. Even if you do a new update, don't change things randomly so that your user will not be confused. Imagine your sign up button in your design used to be at the top left, and it has always been there. People have known that to be there, and you now wake up the next day and change it and now put it at the bottom left. People will now be wondering, where is your sign up? And everybody might be confused. They will now have to go and start looking for weights. So you notice that is not consistency. So the consistency here is not consistency in design, it's consistency in maintaining a particular design team in your design, in your work. So example of what I mean is, let's say now that we are still going to do the prototype phase. When you now finally sketch your app very well and you now start doing a design, in the future, let's say you want to do an update, maintain that design. Don't change it totally. If you need to change it totally, then you have to inform people what happened, why you changed it totally. But over time, it will be good that you maintain that design to avoid causing issues, to avoid having issues over time. So I don't know if this makes sense. Okay. So let's go. Like, let me use a very good example. You notice that we all use WhatsApp, right? They have been running a lot of updates. And notice that the way WhatsApp used to look some months back is not the way it is again. They changed something. And when they made those changes, it's still the same flow, but different. They have changed something, like they've changed the button, they've changed some of the colors, they've changed something, but it's still the way it was. Nothing much change. Like there's a lot of changes, but it still maintains the way WhatsApp used to be since we have known WhatsApp. So that's what I mean. So the changes that they added stories from sorry, not stories. They added is it stories? Updates, I think that's what they call it. Updates where you can see people's status. Okay, status I meant to see. Status from status, they now added call. So this is new additions, but they maintained the same design. So they are consistent in their design. So your own design has to maintain this, be consistent to avoid confusing your users. Give feedback on user interaction. So when a user does something, give them feedback so they will know what is going on, so they will not be lost. So what do I mean by giving feedback is, say what I mean by giving feedback. Security is our priority. You can be sure your data is safe as a transfer bridge. So this is feedback. This is like giving feedback in a design. You're letting the user know that, okay, in this website, we are key to security. Then the next one is this is a login page. You realize that the person did not put his information properly. He says, sorry, that password is not right. We can help you recover your password. So you realize that the person puts a wrong password here, and the feedback here is that the app is telling the person that your password is not correct. If you're forgetting your password, let us help you to recover your password. That's giving feedback. So it will be frustrating that you want to log into your account and you keep pressing your password and it's not logging. It tells you login error, login error, login. But you're now wondering what is the error? I'm pressing my password well, but here I know that assuming I put that same password I was thinking was correct, the app tells me that sorry, the password is not right. So it means that I'm putting in the wrong password. So that means it will tell me that is either I've forgotten my password, I'm not typing it correctly. So you see, I'm giving the user feedback so that they will not be lost. And this helps users a lot so that they can follow your app successfully. Example of feedback is if you um, create an account and you're done creating an account, you get a feedback which will show successfully, let's say account has been created successfully. That's a feedback. Or let's say you want to save something and you click on and you press the save button. It will be somehow that you press the save button and nothing tells you save. You might be wondering, did I really save this thing? So it will be confusing. So let's say if you click on the save button, it tells you you have saved this file, and you'll be sure that that file has been saved. So that was used to give feedback. So this is a very good example of what I'm talking about. In this particular page, you say it seems like you forgot to attach a file. You wrote C attached. So it means that it's telling you, it's predicting your what you're doing. So that's why when you're doing UX, you have to predict the user. So what do I mean by predicting the user? It means that that's why you need to do that your user flow. Because it's from user flow you can be able to predict what the user can do at the next point in time. Then final one is allow users to control the process. So always allow the users to have more control. So what do I mean by having more control? So assuming you made a mistake. Let's say you're typing in your Google slide, I made a mistake, and there is no undo button. It won't be frustrating to start deleting everything again, to type it afresh. So, but if there was an undo button, you can just press Ctrl Z and now undo what you did previously. Or let's say you mistakenly deleted something and there is no place to recover that stuff again. It will be very frustrating. Assuming you deleted something that's important. Let's say you are typing a project or typing your work, and you made a mistake and deleted a page. So the control you have is that they put a undo button to have control of that action you took, so I can reverse that action. So that's the principle of allowing users to control the process. Or let's say I'm trying to um, um, sign up and I don't want to continue signing up again. If there can be a place for cancel and there can be a place for proceed. So like what we have here, let's say I want to delete this thing. To tell you, to ask, are you sure you want to permanently delete this item? So it's the empty, trash, or cancel. So you see, you have control over this action you want to do. But assuming you don't have any control, it just has to be empty. You realize that you'll be stuck or you'll be frustrated at that particular point. So easy interaction is another principle. So what does it mean to have easy interaction? Make things easy to work with. So you realize that if you click on file or hover on something, it gives you a lot of options. It's not difficult to work with. So you have pop-ups, like if you click on something, the next thing appears. So that easy interaction means that make sure that your app is able to capture a lot of things that will help the users to work with it. So you realize that if you hover on this file, something comes up. Assuming you have to click on it all the time, it will be difficult. So like there's some things you don't need to click on in the website. Just bring them as close to it, tells you what this thing does. So that is easy interaction. And what you talked about, don't put too many things in your design because if you have a lot of things clustered together, the user will be lost, I mean to say. Then finally, is easy accessibility. Make your products easy to easy to be usable by all users. So what do I mean by this is that make your app very easy to use. Even if someone is blind, someone is have deaf and dumb, you have to have the provision for it. So that's where you have to make provision for the option for um, audio to text, so the blind can be able to hear what the computer is saying and speak to it. And that one is assuming you cannot hear, you have gestures whereby you're seeing what is going on, but you cannot hear. So instead of the computer speaking, it's using gestures, or you can be using information messages to pass across what is going on. So that's what that's an accessibility. So accessibility is not easy usage, it's not interaction. Accessibility is having easy access to that phone, to that app. Like our phones now have something that can allow the blind to hear, to make calls without even touching the screen. So that's easy accessibility. So they can easily access that product. So I think that's all for today's class. That's all for, like, I'm not going further than this. So that's we can I want to get questions from what you have thought so far before we go to the practical phase of today's class. Let's Before we go to Figma. Are you muted?
When applying this principle, when creating a design, you need to adopt all the whole principle in one design, or make use of some and leave some.
All of them, yes, all of them have to. All of them will work out. It's like in all scenarios, some of them might not be applied, but you need to consider all of them to make it make sense. All of them will be considered, but not in every scenario that all of them will come into play. Like the one for easy accessibility is a must. It's a must for all your apps because everybody needs to know how to use your apps. But for the meantime, if you don't, you can. The issue is that if you don't make it accessible for some types of users, like those who are colorblind, those who are has some let me say physical issues, you realize that people that can use your app, you have now removed those people from the context. So it's best to apply everything. The little now matters is that if you have to now put some considerations to it so that you can now achieve those things. But the why it's called a principle is because these things has guaranteed the success of your app. So if they're not there, your app will have some, how would I put it? It will not be, it's not fulfill, it won't be 100% okay at that instance. So it's good you know these principles so that when you're designing, you put it into consideration. So I will say yes. The answer will be yes. Consider it, but it might not work in every scenario, but just still consider it throughout your design. That's UX principles, or not UI principles. Because in UI principles, not all of them can. It's not a must to use all the contrast. No, if you want to use contrast in shape, that's fine. If you want to use hierarchy, now we can use it. But this one, you have to consider it holistically throughout your design. So, Andrea, any question? Okay, so we'll be running off now. Um, let me. I want to show us some things. I want to open a particular website so that we could see something on shows. Okay, not this one. Maybe this one. Yes, exactly. So can you see my screen at this point? So watch, I open a page containing some of the things I've talked about, the UI principles, but is specific to typography. So watch, says, I want you to see, I'm going to highlight some things here. So did you notice in terms of, are you seeing the contrast in type here we talked about previously? Okay, okay, you're not connected again. Contrast in type. So you see contrast in type. See how they showed the different contrast. This one is bold and size. So and you see they use color here. They see this one is now it made everything all cap. This one is the same font was used here, but this one is different fonts was used here. So that's what we are talking about contrast. So let's talk about consistency now. So are you seeing that they kept something consistent? They kept the color of this background consistent. The button is okay. The button is okay. Wait, coming on. Okay, no, this is not sorry. Curious about no, don't worry. This is not an example. I thought it was an example. But as an example, the consistent color here is white, and then they maintain that black color across the design, and then this is now the one that is highlighting as contrast, giving contrast. Is everything is white, but this is now the one that is the brightest button here. So white space. Are you noticing that the space in this text is too small? But see, this one is evenly spaced. It's looking at this looks clustered, too clustered, and it's not good in the eyes. But you see that this one is evenly spaced. Mhm. Okay, let me open another page so I can demonstrate more things. But I want to show us real life examples so that it will stick with regards to the UI principle. Are you seeing are you like in this font now? Do you realize that there is no consistency in this font? So it's a very bad, it's not really good. So stick to one font instead of sticking to plenty fonts. Did you notice that I just noticed something in this particular design here? Okay, I won't say anything about it from research. I won't say anything about it. But did you notice something here and here? What did you notice? In this is two the same design but different way. So what you notice what is going on here and what is going on here? You are quiet. I've said this before. I said this before first time that I talked about this, and I think I used one of your slides to demonstrate it. About it before. If I said what I was yes. Okay. So it's the first day that I corrected your slide, I made that correction. And the way of quiet, yes. The margin is what is the difference. If you look, the space here, it's too tight. And that's why the your design that did not really give enough margin. But you see that the margin in this is this. Yes, that's the goal. The goal is not to make it look empty, but the goal is to make it to look easily readable. Does it feel like you take more time to do this and you take more time to do this?
Text together on
Wait, it's not in the same text though. Are you sure?
What is what they say?
text together on
Yes, it's possible. It's, I won't really agree with you, Andrea, because it's possible to adjust your text to all these text to fit here. I know you're wondering, you now wonder that this tutor has come again. He wants to do us a jury. So it's the same text, but different styling. They increase the margin and reduce the font, they reduce the size. If you reduce the size of a text, it also affects readability. This text is, there's too many things going on in this text. So what we have done is to reduce the size and space it properly. But you notice that it is big and then taking the entire page. So this gives you room to breathe and room to read at the same time. But this is like very clustered. Like, I don't know if, okay, back then we used to use newspaper. I don't know if you go to a newspaper, you need to take your time to read it. You don't rush over in newspaper, but this is UI. People are visiting a lot of websites at the same time. You don't need to start making them to go and start wasting time on your website trying to read those things. So that's why you have to space it well and make it easy to read so they can comfortably read it without straining their eyes. So that's the difference. So what I'm saying, there's less white space here and there's more white space. So in your design, give enough space. Don't cluster things together. And I think I made that correction in our slides previously. So let me scroll down so that we can look at. Okay, I thought about this before. So this is visual hierarchy. I've explained this before. This is the first thing you see, next thing you see, the next step. So visual hierarchy is this is the first thing you're going to interact with, your what we do, your next text, and then the information that is in this particular design. That's UIUX research. So the hierarchy in this design is this is the first thing you meet. You meet this. The hierarchy is this 1, 2, 3, 4. It's images supporting your design. Then this is like the last thing you meet because that's the smallest thing in this design. Same thing, the hierarchy in this design is going to be this stuff here. This is another big, this the biggest screen here. Then this one is now coming next. I don't know if you're seeing it. So in this place, in this design now, where do you think contrast was applied? I won't say anything. Contrast, where do you think was applied? There's so many places contrast was applied. But highlight the places contrast was applied in the design. So, okay, you go first. Which of the box? Okay, is button. So the orange color is the contrast, right? Okay, you're correct. Andrea, go next. Where do you think? Eh? Ah, that mean that's it. Okay, what's wrong? What happened to the text? Yeah, the one for it is small. Yes. So it's contrast is there's a contrast between this text and this text below. That's it. There's a contrast here. Everything here is here. Yes, because everything here is just normal text, but this is the only one that has a circle around it. So yes, that is important. The logo too has its own contrast, and then this one here is quite small, but there's not much contrast here. What is the contrast? So let me show you another where contrast is basically contrast in space. And do you realize that everything here is if you realize so do you realize that everything here is grouped together? Don't look like sit there in one place. Take your eyes to see clear, to see it well. These things here are in a square, in a one block, because of how the space is. These ones here and want and are spaced together. Same thing here. This image on its own. I do realize that these social media are all spaced together. So that's proximity. So the space in between them is higher. Like there's a very huge gap from here to here, so they're not together. There's another very huge gap from here to here, so they're not together. Then this image is taking like a lot of space. You need that this image is on this phone. So that's another contrast. That's and if you're decoding it small. So yeah, that was this as you can see, struggling to scroll down. Here, the contrast, there's a like color, as a lot of color contrast here. It's very high in this image. This is a very colorful website. So see contrast here, heavy, bold, small. See, this is size and shape, type, scale, guideline. So what else again? Okay, yes, in this design, can we spot out the contrast? Or the contrast that you can spot here. That's by design. Okay, let me know it's a contrast. Spot out all the elements. If you realize that not every principle was used there, but most of them are used there. So can we spot out the principles that are used in this design? Not UX, UI principles, I meant to say. UI principle, not UX, UI principle. US principle is for the entire product. This is just a page. And the name the my battery is on low. Yes. So let's finalize now. I don't want to say it because it's there. We have consistency, we have visual hierarchy, we have contrast, we have alignment, which one is again, we have proximity. So we tell me where was contrast used, you say consistency, then where was it used? Oh yeah, you go. I think too much time on my battery is very low. So what principle is used there? Okay. So you said contrast. Which other principle was used there? Okay. Yes, everything is if Mrs. Center. Yes. So alignment is one, contrast is one, and then consistency in color. You see that the entire background is blue. So that's all I wanted to say. That's for like that's for this. So in our next class, we'll now look at more, go more into this. So let me stop sharing. So end the class for today. So by next week, we'll submit our tax 7. Yes. Not next week, Monday. Yes. Next week, from next week, we'll submit our tax 7. That's what I'm saying. Not Monday, from next week. So start working. What I'm saying is start working on it by next week. Start working on starting listening. So let's end the recording.